Alright guys, welcome back to VALORANT News. The AfreecaTV League tournament has concluded. What a tournament it was. Great production value, great storylines, phenomenal teams, and a great grand finals of that. Best of 5. Sentinels versus PaperX. Would you have predicted a few months ago would be in this scenario where any grand finals result here for Sentinels would have been successful where they were a few months ago, especially last season. Even making the finals of this tournament would have been an impressive result, and even making it out of their group against PaperX and DRX was an impressive result. To win the finals in emphatic fashion against one of the best teams in the world is nothing short of a mega statement. Very much interested in your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoy. Subscribe if you're new as always. I greatly appreciate it. This picture was going around today as well, of course. Nats in the centre of Team Liquid, and then Zeltis in tens, and as Zeltis said at the time, well, at least these guys have won something before, and maybe that won't be too far away for Zeltis. And to be fair, they got the victory today, as we'll dive into here in a second, and potentially a sign of things to come for Sentinels, because if you can win this tournament with the calibre of teams attending, why can't you win more tournaments to come up this season? Big confirmations though as to exactly which teams are going to be in the VCT China for next season. We saw some confirmations yesterday. Today we've got a few more. So Tailu Gaming, they're going to be in the official VCT Chinese League. This was also kind of wild to me, I'm not going to lie. So this is Wolves, as a, someone from Britain. Wolves are a football club here, so it's kind of wild that they're involved in the VCT China. Now it turned out yesterday during their home game against Nottingham Forest, they actually put this up on their screen. As you guys can see, Wolves joined VCT China before it was officially confirmed. So this was effectively leaked last night at their home match, but nobody noticed. I guess nobody knew what the hell this even was, what it even meant. So I'm kind of surprised that nobody had a picture of this, and it was talked about last night before the fact. But anyway, it came out today that Wolves had officially joined VCT China in addition to the final team they confirmed so far, which of course is Edward Gaming, which is no surprise. Somewhat confused really why they didn't announce this first. Like, well, it wasn't Edward the first team they said, but whatever, it is what it is. Edward Gaming officially are going to be in the VCT China. Now, there's also been rumours as to the other teams. Bodork says EDG, FPX, BLG, that's Bilibili Gaming, GDG or JDG, Tolu Wolves, those are confirmed. The other spots are in speculation. Titan Esports Club, All Gamers, LNG. There's other possible candidates. There was also this as well, which is a post on Weibo, which appears to show all of the 10 teams. So not the best quality here, but it looks like this is an official graphic, so you would think that maybe this is going to be true. And those 10 teams are as follows. So the 6 we mentioned, with All Gamers coming in as well, Titan Esports Club, Trace, and then Nova rounding out the top 10. Few like, mobile gaming organizations in there, which probably makes sense given what Riot are targeting to do in region. So I guess we'll stay tuned for that one. There was also these rumors going around Deadlock, the fact that apparently there'll be another buff coming soon. Her last buff didn't really do that much. So yeah, I guess they want Deadlock to at least be somewhat viable, but given the current meta, she isn't really. So apparently there's going to be another buff coming in the near future there. Also Demon 1, glad he's, well, I guess, but it definitely seems like he was in a car crash yesterday. Difficult to exactly determine what is going on here. I know that there was people, of course, wishing Demon 1 the best. I mean, he's taken this picture. He's had, it looks like hopefully he's fine because he's had the time to get out of the car, take a picture of the number plate, which is clearly going to be the other car's number plate. So I don't exactly know what happened, whether he got rear-ended, then rear-ended somebody else, but hopefully Demon 1's okay because he hasn't really said too much more than just this interesting picture yesterday. Mel also, after a recent SR Game Changers World Championship victory, has it officially on her banner now. SR Mel, 2023 Game Changers winners. That's pretty cool. Still, I know that she's somewhat frustrated. She didn't get to celebrate with her team at the time, but still a great result. Now, we've got to talk about this AfreecaTV League tournament. Yesterday was the second semi-final that we didn't cover, didn't have time to yesterday. T1 versus PaperX. This result was not massively surprising. PaperX are one of the best teams in the world, no doubt about it. They're always right at the top in all of these international tournaments. And against T1, to be honest, I think that the relative styles of these teams just favours PaperX massively. They use 2 different sets of players again, swapping out Jing for Mon, yet, PRX are just doing these funny things at the moment, but they dominated the Sunset after the first few rounds. It was 6-1, then they just ran away with it, and Lotus wasn't even really close either, 13-5. So first few rounds went to T1's way, but I think just PaperX's aggression, the way they play, doesn't really work well with T1's style. They love having X-Squirt on the operator where they can, and I just think the overwhelming aggression of PaperX just took T1 down, but still a pretty good tournament from T1. Another crazy thing to notice that both Execute and Forsaken, the two brothers, Execute the older brother, Forsaken the younger brother, had exactly the same ACS over the series. Neither had a particularly good series, but they were both on exactly the same ACS. So as PaperX say, let's call it a draw and move on from there. And as Rossi says, GG's O2 versus PaperX, hardest team ever. And on this performance, I thought, well, they're going to come into the grand finals looking for revenge against Sentinels. They lost to Sentinels in the decider in the earlier group. Sentinels won that series 2-1. It was a close fought affair. And I thought after this performance, just, swatting aside T1 that looked pretty good, that PaperX were going to come with the fire going into the grand finals. So let's talk about the grand finals, man. And it's crazy. I know there was a stat floating around on Reddit. I saw people mentioning that both Tens and Zelsys have played more games in this calendar year on the main controller than Pankada has. Because let's not forget, Pankada wasn't really on his primary role for this season. And even since he's kind of been back on that controller role, most of the time he's now been out of the team, and it's been Zelsys or Tens running that role. This is the thing, right? It's very clear that Zelsys is in the team now full-time, and there's no way they're going to change their opinion on that. I guess the question for me is with Pankada, could he return at some point for somebody else on the team? Because Pankada's a great player. Mechanically, I think he's probably better than Zelsys. But if you look at the listenings and, the way that Zelsys is involved in the game, the energy and all these other factors that Zelsys brings to the team, he's arguably one of their most important players, if not, their most important player, maybe behind Gen.G, the IGL. I mean, he's playing incredibly well, but it's tough to say, right? Because every player on Sentinels this tournament played incredibly well. Their overall stats were all the same. They all had a 1.05 to a 1.1 rating, which is kind of unheard of. Usually there's one or two players that are leading it up, and usually the IGL or somebody else is lagging behind statistically. But every single player on Sentinels held their own, so it's tough to say who's the most important. But Zelsys is definitely one of their more important players, if you can even say that. So I don't think that he's going anywhere. I mean, he definitely isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But if Pankada wants to come back in, I don't know whose spot he'd even be targeting at this point. And as these maps have gone on, Pankada must be there's no way these guys are actually this good. So the grand finals gets underway. Sentinels, PaperX, I thought, and to be fair, there was no advantage here. There was no Sentinels advantage because they'd come from winners. Both teams, despite the fact that PaperX had lost already and Sentinels hadn't, both teams had won their semi-final, so there was no winner's bracket advantage or whatever for Sentinels. So they did the picks and bans entirely equally, and Sentinels pick, I'm pretty sure, the splits to start up the game one. They won the split in the end, as they have been doing a lot of lately. Gen.G opened up with a 4K in the pistol, and this really just, great shots. Just goes to show how good Sentinels are. When their IGL is cooking like this, I know Zelsys stole the final kill as well, and Gen.G wasn't so happy about it. He even tweeted after the fact, oh, get this guy back on the bench. He tweeted this after map 1 as well, not even after the series was over. The map that really impressed me, though, was the Sunset, and there's just so many features about this Sentinels team that are really impressive at the moment. It's not just, the strats and the meta that they're currently evolving and their individual abilities, which are there, and Gen.G had a really nice clutch as well on this very map. I'm pretty sure it was the round after this, Zekken got the ace, and then the next round, Gen.G had a nice 1v2 or something to get them to 10. And then they quickly close out the final map. But even the Sunset, that was the map where Jing the other day, when he was subbed in for PaperX, or was in the team for PaperX really at the time, kind of destroyed Sentinels on, had a great map. Sentinels go back to Sunset again to play them on that map. And I think they had a bit of a lead. They then lost a thrifty rounds to PaperX, but still bounced back. And I think it's the mental resilience. That's one of the most impressive features right now for Sentinels. They're playing one of the very best teams in the entire world in PaperX, in the grand finals of a big tournament. They lose a round they probably shouldn't. They don't do much of that either. They usually, when they're in a position of advantage, they'll almost always close it out. There was a round on splits. They had a 5v3, and a couple of them kind of challed for no reason and died. And I think Zekken bailed them out with a 3k to close out the round. So sometimes, as every team does, they overextend, they make mistakes, they're going to lose rounds they should have won. But when that happens, they don't get into a mental spiral and start collapsing and PaperX one of these rounds in a row. They bounce back. And eventually they find themselves on the breeze and they take the victory pretty emphatically. I mean, look at this scoreboard, right? Look at the ratings. there's nobody who's lagging behind. John QT, rating-wise, top performer. Second top frags, 53, 48, 48, 50 across the board. It's just incredible. And that's not just for this series. That's the entire tournament, basically. You'll see that. Again, Tens on the Omen, putting in work. Yes, Paper X, they changed some things around. Monyet was in, Monyet was out, Jing was in, Jing was out, all this stuff. But at the end of the day, just Paper X have been such a great team internationally, and this wasn't much different. They still played pretty well, I think. Just Sentinels were simply a cut above. And look, for Sentinels, even getting out of the group stages against Paper X and DRX was an incredibly good achievement. Those are two teams that almost always are top 6 internationally. DRX are usually top 6, Paper X are usually 2nd, 3rd, maybe 4th. So beating those two teams already secures Sentinels as being a potential top 6 team in the world. To then go on to beat Liquid and then take down Paper X emphatically in the finals. I mean, look, 13-7, 13-10 on the Sunset on Paper X's pick, and then it was 13-6 on the Breeze. Like, it wasn't really even close this series. Against a team as good as Paper X is pretty stunning, to be honest. So it's such a strange timeline that we're in, that Sentinels, after being clowned on for some time, and the rumours in the off-season that the team they were putting together was very promising indeed, they've got all the pieces. The controversial change, really, for Pancada out Zeltis in has been emphatically rewarded, and as it stands, there's no denying that at this present point in time, Sentinels are one of the very best teams in the world. I'd like to see them play Fnatic right about now, just to see where we stand. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to dominate the season, win everything, win champions or whatever. It's still early days. 100 Thieves won the Homegrounds tournament last December, but that was against, I would say, slightly different caliber opposition to what we have seen here. And this was a serious tournament. People were taking it seriously. Big trophy, great production value, all of this stuff. Booths for the teams, really. So, this is a legit tournament and a very impressive one of that. So I'm sure loads of storyline to dive into with this over the coming days. Very much into your thoughts in the comments below. Hit the like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe if you're new. Take care. And I'll see you next time.